In this video we're going to look at the menus. Now Debrief has a number of different menus which provide different functions. These menus are the main menu, context sensitive menus, and view drop-down menus, and we'll look at each of these in turn. Now without a Debrief file open, you'll only see a reduced main menu set of 5 items: File, Edit, Run, Window, and Help. So now we'll open a file to see the full set of menu items. Now, as we said before, to manage our open files, we need to go to the Navigator view. If yours isn't open, then press Ctrl 3 on your keyboard, and then you should see the Navigator General option that we opened in the last video. Now, in the Navigator view, click on the drop-down arrow next to Debrief Test Project 01, and it will expand. And then do the same with Sample Data folder. And then you see a list of all the other subfolders and some of the files. Now, the file we're going to use is boat1.rep. So we're going to just left-click on it to select it. And then, as you can see straight away in the Properties view, we get information about this particular file. What we're going to do now is we're going to double-click on the file to open it, and then we're going to get our Select Track mode. Now, over the ground OTG is selected. If you remember back to the Preferences video, we chose to be asked every time, and this is basically what the track mode is doing. So we click on OK, and after a second or so, we see our track in the plot editor. Now, I'm just going to resize my views on the left just to give me a better view of the full track. And as you can see, it fits the window. And you can also see on the main menu bar, you can see the full main menu set now, as well as the full toolbar set underneath that. And the 8 main menu items are File, Edit, Run, Chart Features, Drawing, View, Window, and Help. Now, I'm not going to run through what each of these do, as the user guide contains all that information. But I'll just add that you can only perform certain functions in Debrief if certain previous conditions have been met. And if these conditions haven't been met, then you won't be able to do it. For example, you can't paste something if you haven't copied something. That's just standard Windows functionality. And if let's say, for example, I click on the File menu now, and as you see, I can't save this file because there's no changes been made. I can save as, because we can always rename a file. But you can see all the grayed out items. And this is what we mean by preconditions. So if I haven't copied anything, then I can't paste anything, as you can see here. So just bear that in mind. Now, using the menus is very easy, especially with the mouse. However, you can also access the main menu items using the keyboard. But we'll discuss more about these later. Now, the second type of menu we have are called context-sensitive menus. Now, one mostly unused function when people use the mouse with Windows is the right-click mouse button. And similarly with the keyboard, there is a right-click keyboard button on your keyboard. It's normally the one with a graphic on it, 2 to the right of your keyboard spacebar, but very few people use it. Now, using either the right mouse button or the right key on your keyboard will cause a pop-up menu to appear, and this is called a context-sensitive menu. So in the plot editor, the grey area here which we see behind the track, this grey area is kind of our C, isn't it, for this boat. If I right-click in the grey area, I get a pop-out menu with 3 items: Copy Cursor Location, Edit Base Chart, and Edit Projection. So there's not many options there. But if I want to select one of them, then I move my mouse over it and then I left-click. So admittedly, these aren't much help to us at the moment, but as you can see, it's a quick way of accessing information around what we're doing, around the attributes and functions of the chosen object. Now, if we look at the track, we can see this yellow area of track. Now, if I right-click anywhere on the track, I get a different pop-out menu with far more options. And the third option down, as you can see, is Reset Color. So if I reset color for this part of the track that I've clicked on, that's what happens. Of course, there are many other things we can do with these options, but it's just handy to know they're there, and it's far quicker than using the main menu all the time. And you might think this is no big deal, but when you're using a computer all day, shortcuts like this can help enormously. As well as saving you time and energy, these context-sensitive menus also show you what other functionality is available to you, and as well as being a neat training aid, are great for improving your efficiency and capability with the program. Now, the last menu set we're going to look at is the View drop-down menu. Now, all views have drop-down menus, and again, this further narrows in on the functionality for the particular subset of tasks you're performing. For example, not only can you right-click on every individual element or attribute in a view, but you can also click on objects such as column headings, as well as the small drop-down arrow in the top right-hand corner of each view, as I've just done. So, with our boat1.rep file, we're now going to look down at the outline view. And if your outline view isn't open, click on Window on the menu bar, then on Show View, and then click on Outline. And as you can see, within the outline view, we have track:_Nelson with a tick next to it which says it's visible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the drop-down arrow next to track Nelson, and then I can see I have track data in this within track Nelson. If I right-click on this track data, and then I mouse over 12.0500.00, I get another pop-out. And if I select line style, and let's say I want to change this to long dashes, look what happens to my track. So that's now affected the entire track. So now we'll go one step above. Now we'll go back up to the Nelson track. Right-click on Nelson, track Nelson, and then another pop-out will appear with different options. And now I've got Nelson. So I'll mouse over that, and another pop-out will appear. And now I'm going to come down to Colour, then another pop-out, and then I'm going to come across and I'm going to select blue. And look what happens to my track in the plot editor. So this shows another level of drop-down menus. Now we'll go another step higher, and we're going to go up to the View, and we're going to click on the View menu item. And again, we get a pop-out, and then I'm just going to come down here and I'm going to select Hide Item. And as you can expect, when I select that, my boat1.rep track disappears. It's hidden. So I come back up to the View menu, I can come down, I can do Reveal Item, or I can even come across to track Nelson, right-click, the second one down, Reveal Item. So there's many ways that you can perform different functions and different levels. But it all depends on what you're actually working on in the plot editor. The plot editor itself is locked to the center of the user interface, and this is where you view and work on your projects. Now, you can have multiple files open in this central area, and each of which will have its own tab. But as you can imagine, this can get cluttered quite quickly, so I wouldn't recommend having too many open. If you do work in the plot editor and make changes, then an asterisk will appear in the tab of the file you're working on, as you can see here with our boat1.rep file. Now, with the changes we made to the Nelson track in the previous section, what we're going to do is we're going to save these changes. So I'm going to click on File, and now, because I've made changes, the Save option is no longer grayed out. I click on Save. Now, in Debrief, we have two different kinds of files. We have an REP file, and we have a DPF file. I'm not going to cover what they are here, but they're basically it's data stored in a different format. And once we've modified the original track, the REP, we can no longer save it in that format, so we have to save it as a DPF. It's no problem, but I just click on OK, and then I have to save it in a folder. So I'm going to save it in my Debrief test project as boat1.dpf, and then I click on OK, and there, after a few seconds, the screen refreshes, and now you can see the file name in the tab is now boat1.dpf. It's no longer a .rep file. So now we're going to go on to navigating within the plot area. And we can move plots by clicking on the plot tab and then dragging it into a new position alongside an existing tab, much in the same way as we did with the views in an earlier video. But to do this, we need to open another boat file. So we're going to click on boat2.rep to select it, and then we're going to double click to open it. And again, we set the preferences, and it's going to ask us every time. Now I'm going to select OTG and click on OK, and now I have boat2rep in the plot editor. And as you can see, I've got boat1 and boat2 now. So if I want to move boat1, I left click to make it active, and then I left click and hold, and then I can drag and drop it on top of the boat2.rep file, and then They swap places, but boat1.dpf still remains the active window. Now we'll take this one step further and we'll view multiple plots. Because Debrief allows you to view multiple plots in one window. Again, much in the same way as we did with the views and windows in other applications. So what we'll do now is we'll left click on boat2.rep to make that active, and then what we're going to do is we're going to drag the file down. As you can see, the cursor changes, and as soon as I drag it into the plot, I get that grey shaded border. Now if I move it towards the edge of the plot to the left, as you can see, I get the choice to position it here. If I move it to the bottom, I get the choice to position the boat2.rep file at the bottom of the window, and as you can imagine, on the right and on the top I get the various options there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag it across to the right, and once it's in position I release the left mouse button, and now I have my two plot editors side by side. Now we're going to open up another file, and we're going to just scroll down until we find shapes.rep. Double click on it, and again I get the option to select the track mode. There's a few tracks in this file, so I had to do this 3 or 4 times. 3, 4, and there we go. Now I have my shapes.rep file sitting on top of my boat2.rep file. And then of course you can add more files and you can stack them and do what you wish, but I wouldn't recommend too many. So what I'm going to do now with my shapes.rep file, I'm going to left click and hold, and then I'm going to drag down until it changes into a direction arrow, and then I'm going to drop it beneath my boat2.rep file. So now you can see my screen is becoming quite cluttered. And I can repeat this with other files to further segment the plot areas. You can have 4, 5, 6, whatever you want, but again, like I say, bear in mind you have to work on these. Now to rearrange the plots from this position here, I can take it back up to boat2, I can drop it on the tab, take it across to boat1, I can drop it on the tab, I can do whatever I want. Exactly the same as before, very, very easy to do. And to remove plots, all you need to do is click on the close cross in the tab, and then the file will close. So I'm going to drag it up there onto boat1.dpf, drop it, and then I no longer need it. So I click on the X to close, and because I didn't make any changes to the file, I don't get any save option. And as you can see, we now have boat1.dpf and boat2.rep side by side. In the next video, we're going to look at Debrief's toolbars.